Though we are parting ways, we shall come around to touch us again. This is the wrong movie, but it had to start with
Yeah, but
something.
that is more of a Inside Out sequel than this is, honestly.
This is Inside Out 3 we're watching, or is it Inside Out 2.5?
Sorry. Because the souls, you see, the souls are so singular. Like, if we go off of Nietzsche or off of Jung, they have to be the collective. So at least we could say that this is definitely more soul than soul.
All the
Because
emotions are
this
souls. All the souls are emotions.
because But in a way that since maybe the emotions actually that explains maybe that's why happy can feel joy can feel sadness because she's not just not just emotion but a soul herself, a part of the soul. Game theory that shit.
Yeah.
Theory.
I think,
Film theory that shit.
how it should have ended pointed that out. Like, wait, you're feeling sadness. Does that mean you have emotions controlling you? Let's not get too much into that. Not to mention,
So that is why that wouldn't be the case. No, she's also a soul.
Yeah.
That is why soul makes so much sense. That is why soul. That is what soul explains everying. Because you see.
One last off-topic thing. I recently watched the film Inception. Brilliant film of Christopher Nolan going through the mind. I wonder how emotion would come into play. I wonder if you combine Inside Out with Inception. I wonder what that would make.
Let's not get too much into play though with that.
Different interpretations.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's already abstract enough.
Yeah, we're all about the abstract art, everybody. Speaking of abstract art, yes, as you can tell, both of us have watched Inside Out too, and we thought,
just recently.
Yeah, just recently. Spoiler alert, in case if that wasn't obvious enough, we got a lot to discuss and talk about. Because
like the stone thinker, like that.
I'm thinking.
Oh, it's like that part from in Ace Ventura, like I got Einhorn and Finkel. What could that mean?
There's been a lot hyping up towards Inside Out 2, both
and a lot going on with Pixar and Disney at this point.
Absolutely.
Now play in this film. No, we'll get to that.
Yeah. With everyone loved the first Inside Out movie. There's very few people who didn't like it for like several reasons. I know one of my commenters said he didn't like it simply because his younger relatives just kept watching it on repeat. So sorry about that, man.
Yeah, it can easily be addicting. That is kind of the Achilles heel, like the double-edged sword.
Yeah,
it's therapeutic. I've been through that. It's therapeutic, but it's like you're almost pretending you're when you're feeling too much emotions, or you want to pretend you're the person, or you're pretending that you'll go through that catharsis, even when your emotions won't always lead to that catharsis in that film, or don't always feel that. And that it can be addicting. But that is why I still think that in that way, this is better, at least in that way, because it's not about the child anymore. They literally spell this out. That Joy herself literally said about what it means to grow up is to be less joyful.
Yeah, you got to confront the harsh truths about reality, and the previous film
and not just reality about human nature and all that. Yep. And that is why that one of the secrets is. Should we talk about that, or should we lay that table?
I don't know. I honestly don't mind.
Okay, we're in improv, so let's do it. So one of the secrets with obviously video game insert and that Dora the Explorer character, basically a combination of all and the shadow itself, Young in the shadow itself. They went from like soul, like literally you're wrapped up in your anxiety controlling you in a shadow-like way, to literally having the concept of the shadow to be that Riley's dark secret. But that I was a little bit worried that the shadow would get out right now, but she was like, the shadow's like, not now, well, I not yet. So of course that you don't encounter that when you're a kid, or if you do, then it's not nearly to affect as you're adult. That's what Attack on Titan is for. Basically, Attack on Titan is the Pixar equivalent of is when it comes to the shadow. It is like the exploration, and I think also Smiling Friends is also Pixar too. Basically, more Pixar for adults.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you wanted to hang out with me, smoke weed, fill up bellies with Diet Pepsi, and then play Ballad Range for the PS2.
All right. You're gonna be fired. So stop. So let me just keep up on the. Let me just keep up the ship. Hey, okay, man. I don't want to get. Yeah. Hey, get back. You're gonna get fired. You suck, man. You suck. You gotta give shout out. Okay. All right. Not enough.
We love Smiling Friends. That show is hilarious.
Yeah.
So with Inside Out 1, like, people just.
Don't forget, but that did. Like all things good things do. Huh? Oh, these things can't last forever. That's exactly it. Aren't all the best parts of life just temporary moments so we can have distractions? Temporary distractions, so we don't have to think of the harshest realities of life for a second? I can ride roller coasters, meet new friends, and spend many time with friends, my family, all I want. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm just gonna explode. And all this is for nothing. Pixar would be Pim, honestly, or actually would be Pixar would be a combination of Pim and Charlie. But if you would tell that to a kid watching a Pixar film, the shadow would be like Pim. Like that's why the shadow, and that's my whole explanation of why the shadow is in Inside Out 2 was not yet ready for it. Riley was not ready for that. But you will. You will.
We promise.
You ready to this or what? You bitten, don't this be good. And that's why Pixar is. That's why Smiling Friends is the Pixar for adults in that way. That is when you're ready to deal with those shadow. Don't worry. When you're old enough to see Smiling Friends, you'll deal with that shadow better.
Oh yeah. That you'll find it more great that way. So with the first Inside Out film, it was the whole concept of like characterized forms of like your emotions or different parts of your body. It's nothing new. Like it's been done before in like several sitcoms. That one comedy with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, but this definitely explores it, and I think in the sequel, even if it isn't exactly a great sequel, like I said, it's more a direct-to-DVD video. And so far, we haven't even got to the main plot because I don't think we even talk about it because it's all just about a camping trip, and all the Riley does is just go to. Her biggest thing is like taking a gym teacher's notes and seeing if she's not very good at it. But that is potentially at a very vulnerable time in puberty, so that's where it's very vulnerable for future.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it just doesn't feel as like that much stakes as like Riley literally running away, Riley getting anxious about her home life or adjusting to new life. So that is why, yeah, that is more compelling. That is more on a movie standpoint why the first one. This feels more like a direct-to-DVD sequel. A good one, a very good one. Like a very good one. Very good. One of the better ones. Like the...
Something to keep in mind is that even with the first film, like there wasn't too much going on. Like, when you really break down the plot, it's that, oh, this character's having a tough time adjusting to this, but with the unique concept of Inside Out,
it's the emotion. It's especially the emotional core. And it's not that it's there. It's not there. It's here. It's more there because Riley's gonna do something directly that's going to alter her life or like a big mistake.
Yeah.
But this is her getting a panic attack that honestly, if that would get more adult if I had to say, like, if I would really feel bad for her. If this were adults and she was on the verge of committing suicide, then I would feel the same way as the first one.
Right.
But this is her just freaking out in a penalty box. I mean, it's not that, but it gets more contained, literally, because it's the penalty box. But Riley in the first movie, she's out and about. She's going away out there in the void alone. But here she's got her friends and she's got people that still can get. I mean, yeah, but that she's definitely driven away, but it's not as like drastic as like say running away, stealing your parents' money, and getting in a problem that you can't get out of ever. But this, you probably can get out, even if she did drive herself, or anxiety got the best of her. I think if she did, I mean, unless if that meant she had to go to hospital, okay? If her heart attack she did get a heart attack. I mean, that is where at least I could definitely say the emotional core is to make sure she doesn't get a heart attack. Okay.
Right.
But I still kind of don't feel that. I mean, it still does not feel as urgent as, say, like the first movie, where I generally feel like she's gonna drive her life away. But this, I feel like it's just a passing thing. And this is kind of where it's hinting at that they're going down the illumination path, that they're gonna become more safe. That is, because when I felt that emotional catharsis, I mean, they had all the right things. It's just when I first felt it, yeah, it's good. But I felt later, yeah, something's off. Something's very, very off when she's just cool with it and everyone's like happy, and then her friends smiling at her. I wanted to feel cathartic. I wanted to.
Right.
It's just, something was missing. Something was missing that gave the catharsis, like there was no danger, like no one, like, I mean, all that the people around are like, oh, something's going on with her. I mean, if and everyone saw her and she was on, and it felt like she was on the verge of a heart attack, if more people like stopped the game and that she was on the verge of a heart attack, that would actually convince me that she's on it. But it felt like that nothing was that bad, and that's the real danger, actually. Even though there is a good thing about acknowledging your selfishness or your like imperfect nature, there is the real danger when you could just walk that off, like when you just readjust yourself to the moment and things go back to the way they were, like in your calm and cool, and no gravity was at stake. You see the problem? Where like gravity was lost.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Although I suppose some of the things you said are actually really interesting. Like, if you allow me to speak for a few moments, like the fact that you said that she's literally closed in the penalty box. Well, I think seeing how these films are more emotional than logical in many ways, people could say, well, actually, when you're having a panic attack, everything does feel closed in, and it does. Feel
it's not that I don't want to feel closed in. It's that. It's more I'm thinking about it. It's also especially, it's versus the first film where she's more in danger and she is less in danger. That it's not the fact that there's no gravity, of course. That's why I said afterwards about the whole thing, if people were more paying attention towards it, but barely anyone was.
Right. Both of the films are definitely more about Riley's growth and how she adjusts to these jobs. Like, yeah, you could say, they're both functionally the same. And yeah, if you're on a purely functional basis, it kind of is. But the concepts that they showcase and the way they showcase how to handle them, it's pretty profound stuff when you actually take time to look into them. And something I actually really appreciate about this film is that the moment like Riley gets out the car, she actually allows herself to grieve, which actually shows some genuine character growth. Because
it showed from inside out first that she couldn't really do that before because she was so in her own way that she couldn't allow herself to do that, be unhappy. So this is clearly a step up from the last film.
Yeah. Exactly. So in the previous film, she's saying, "No, I can never be sad. I can never be sad." But in the second film, she's like, "Okay, it's okay to grieve. That's a fine thing."
It's just the emotion of new emotions instead of the ones you usually.
I mean, that could explain to some degree how she was able to get out of her panic attack to some extent. I suppose I'll delve more into that later. But I think
that's why this movie really has all the right ingredients. It has all the right things. It's just somehow the execution by the end. It's some of this is just all was building up. It had all the right build up. It had all the right things building up to it. It's just, it feels somehow less than the first film. It feels less. It's of course there's the new emotions. It's a new experience. It's the planning out for the future. It's planning out. But again, back to the it would be much more helpful if, say, the catharsis was more strongly. I think I lost it. Never mind.
That's right. That's right. So it's I mean, certainly these new emotions are everyone's gonna feel these different emotions, and these movies are about, okay, well, how do we adjust to them, and how can we find a balance? Honestly, when I saw that,
oh wait, yeah, I remember.
All right.
It's anxiety. It's where that it's good to acknowledge that you having anxiety. It's good to acknowledge that it's good for kids to learn that, but it's not gonna be always, especially for the ending. It's not gonna be easy for like the kid, like when they grow up, to adjust to anxiety by saying, "Oh, have some tea time, like instant relax."
This is Riley at age 13 or so. This is the best way she can cope with that at that moment.
Honestly, I know that is age 13 film. You know what would at least give some more strength to the film? If it wasn't just some hockey trip. If they actually went to high school. If it was actually high school. It was not someplace that... See, that's where the safeness feels, especially through the plot. It's the camp. Going to this camp. A camp. Really? Yeah, that's where I feel the most disappointed, really. That we're just focusing on in a camp. Or just in a camp and not focusing... And there's hinted all around the high school that things... It's anxiety, and there's high school towards the end. But it should have been high school. From the start. It should have been high school. And hell, you could have done something even grander than... That's where the catharsis could have been grander. If Riley, after the catharsis was... the main threat was over, if you time skipped her to be an adult, and how she would have handled all that, how you don't even have... You get to cut the fat, and you don't even have to go through all, like, the usual real-life stuff. And you could just say to the kids that, and to adults, that it something of great importance of how those events as a kid shaped her into being an adult. How great! And her emotions, you could have added new emotions. You could have added... It should have been such a great catharsis. That would have been a better movie. That would have been stronger. That would have been the strong sequel. That would have been great.
Right.
But no, we get this direct-to-DVD crap.
Right. I suppose, with all that you just said, like, there's the whole drama that's going on. I mean, yeah, it could easily take place in a high school. It probably wouldn't make too much of a difference. I think you could just adjust the circumstances slightly so that,
But here's the problem. If it were in a camp, see, that camp is... Of course, it's camp. But high school... You could go through... Camp is a short period of time. High school isn't. High school is longer. You could do this months. You could do this years a bit. And how the emotional toll of high school could get to Riley. You could explore how anxiety and all these new emotions would act during these long periods of time. How the toll that would take onto the kid during all these periods of all the stuff going on throughout the kid's life.
Right. And
that is the difference, where camp is a more safer environment. Camp is more where you get to be yourself a bit. I mean, it's not that you don't have social peers, but there's not constant teachers telling you what to do. There's not constant peer pressure that make you feel even worse. There's not constant, like, exam. It's just a simple hockey thing. It just...
This entire plot at the camp, you could pretty much transition it to the school. It probably wouldn't make much of a difference to the plot. I mean, when
it's
Riley
just such a big wasted potential that it wasn't at school. Because if you did, I think it would make a huge difference if you did it at school. Because, like I just said, and maybe you could definitely age it up to 16, from 13 to 16.
Maybe.
And you wouldn't...
I suppose maybe they're gonna make an Inside Out 3, and maybe they're gonna somehow listen to us.
No, it's too late for that. It's too late. They lost their chance at this one. I feel like that's the greatest waste of this. that they lost. If this were 2 and pointing towards a third film, whereas adulthood, then a trilogy, then I would say go at it. But nope, I think even they acknowledge this is definitely probably going to be the last sequel. Pixar has never, ever, ever been good at sequels, and they never will be.
But what about the Toy Story
So they
sequels?
they could. I know they do, but that is a one-trick pony. That's a one-trick pony.
Right.
How many
Not
of
like
those?
a two-trick pony. But
That
Toy
was
Story 1, 2,
that was
3,
during their that was.
and 4.
Remember, this was Pixar during their time, their golden age. Toy Story 1, and then Toy Story 2. That was their golden age. And Toy Story 3 was when it was still kicking. That was before Cars 2. Right before Cars 2.
Yeah, Cars 2.
That was right before that, where they seemed unstoppable. They seemed So,
we don't talk about Cars 2.
So, I genuinely think that they acknowledge that this is probably going to be the last Inside Out movie. Just as like it's going to be this and no more. This is the final say, and it is a direct-to-DVD sequel. How much of a waste that is?
Well,
that you would. I mean, it's not with the ideas, but still, even the story that impacts the ideas that makes it a bit more grander.
Right.
But this feels like at least you're getting cool ideas. You're getting these great ideas, but you're not getting any substance to hold those ideas together.
Right.
You're not getting that much good substance. You could say, yeah, the emotions are the ideas themselves. Like Joy said, are the ideas, and Riley herself is the substance. Her story is the substance. Is the very substance that the plot takes place. Because most of the plot takes place because of Riley, because this is her emotions.
Yeah, both the Inside Out movies are just a glorified character study of Riley when you really break it down.
Well, of course they are.
Yeah, the codes.
That's what separates it from all the other interpretations of the emotions in people's heads.
I mean, it wasn't a complete waste of time. I mean, you did say.
I wouldn't say it's a waste of time. I said waste of potential. I'm not saying it's a waste.
Right. Sorry. Right.
It's a waste of potential. Such a waste.
Not a waste of time, a waste of potential. Got it. Right.
Because at least you do enjoy anxiety, especially anxiety. You can definitely relate, like in the retrospective. I just think anxiety is the greatest point of retrospective that any person would fall. Like you could feel it at 18, especially I like the jokes, like when they sealed up all the emotions, like the past ones. That you can come back when you're 18, or when Riley gets a new friend, or So it definitely creates that sense of puberty. You don't know when this is going to end.
Pretty much.
And that's how most people do puberty. Sometimes, a lot of times during puberty, those emotions don't really come back until you're 18 for a lot of people.
Yeah, and apparently during puberty, some emotions even come early, like nostalgia for a wee bit.
Yeah.
I remember that was literally 13 seconds ago. Oh, the fond memories.
And it's also with, I guess we'll talk about the new emotions. Envy, at least at first, Envy doesn't seem that resentful, but later, as her emotions, she's dealing with these new emotions, Envy does become more resentful a bit. Even if she's not, I feel like, honestly, Envy should be more like a bit of how she's portraying the story, and a bit of a progression of disgust. A bit of a combination, like a bit of combination of joy and disgust, because that's what Envy is.
But you could say something similar with like sadness and embarrassment, or like fear and anxiety, or something along the lines of that.
And honestly, that's also what kind of plays into it. You could have really had them as rivals a bit. I know you don't want to do that, but you could have like the emotions jealous at the other emotions. You have so much that because it's more like just swap time, like just the emotions like trading places. One of those children's movie cliches where they're getting kicked out and like new emotions are coming in, which it's fine, but it could be a lot better. It could be a lot better.
Although something that I think is actually really genius about the Inside Out film is that you could analyze what Ray's sorry, wait, what? No, Riley, what Riley is thinking, and what Riley is going through emotionally, based on not only which emotions are at the desk controlling her, but also which ones are not, because you see all these different emotions.
And I also in whatever in boredom.
In you, yeah.
In you, never. She has this like phone, her own. When it comes to the plot, like this mobile app for the desk, yeah. So like, I mean, okay, but and embarrassment also has a bit of time to shine. Like I do like at least there's a connection between sadness and embarrassment that since embarrassment was the thing that was looking out for sadness, because embarrassment and sadness have that connection, that and especially during the times of distress, that and I like eventually sadness was the first emotion to come back, because sadness usually does come being puberty, because
that makes sense. Like I said, you can tell the emotional state of Riley based on which emotion is where. So you have this intricate analysis on where the specific characters are, and that you can analyze Riley's exact mindset from all these different characters' positioning. It's really smart that way.
Also the ego or the sense of self also, and the strings that go into basically system, which you can actually form like the nape of a brain. Actually, you can really like see as like all that is into the nape of the brain. And also I would say this about puberty. I do love this thing about it. When you first hear that little boop, you feel that dread. You feel dread. You feel that dread. You feel, and it progresses more and more towards it. And it's just such a waste when it has such a strong opening with, everything's going fine and there's some hint, foreshadow what would come bad for the rest of the story. But that is just a strong opening about how that sense of dread, that puberty. And it's not that there wasn't any, like anything worth dreading with, anxiety literally making Riley having a heart attack of basically overworking herself.
Yeah,
and
that is exactly what a panic attack is like. Or just anxiety in general, intense anxiety. That's exactly what.
And I especially also love how when the sense of self is lost, then there's like this little, like every time anxiety does stuff, there's like this little like thunderbolt of like rush of like little informing the sense of self that it's not very, and this kind of points towards that trying to show the emotions aren't inherently evil, even that looks evil. But okay, because that's what the shadows try. The dark secrets also like that's kind of what. And I think that at least this movie tries to say is the best thing it has to say, at least for kids still, is that you are going to be inherently selfish and you are going to be contradictory. You're going to be these things, but you're still a nice aesthetic phenomenon. That's why when Joy did retain her power, I did like the catharsis that it felt. Things felt brighter because the bad emotions somehow made everything look beautiful. It's just everything else. It was that one moment that it was good, and then somehow it fumbled. Somehow the entire scene fumbled afterwards. It's like it had one great huzzah and then fumbled.
Finish line. Kind of like me.
Like somehow comedy. Like when the main character gets their great moment. I got a comedy film. That's how I felt the execution of that catharsis was.
I will say, I will always adore just the sheer dedication to these creative ideas, like the whole belief system thing. I think that's a really great idea. Like, I know people could make the whole case this wasn't foreshadowed in the slightest in the previous movie. Where did these new emotions come from? Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but still, I mean, these new concepts, they still at least make sense. And I like the way they're delivered. So this whole belief system thing, and it comes with like the streams of consciousness that can surround it. It's really cleverly thought through. They clearly dedicate a lot of time and effort to.
And also, how many times the emotions literally jogged all the emotions away.
Pretty much,
because kind of that they slipped up because they learned. Joy literally learned the value of having memories with sadness, but they all take for granted emotions inevitably because they think that, hey, that's a contradiction of the first movie. Is Joy's supposed to know the importance of the emotions? No, of the memories. No, she's the importance of sadness in those memories, not the memories themselves.
Right.
It's where she did. Yeah, that's why before at first she was allowed to be sad. Riley was allowed to be sad. It's just the memories were jogged away. They were all those unwanted memories were all jogged away.
Right.
But of course they were made by Joy, but they all collectively agreed on that those memories can be jogged away.
Aye. Yeah, I just gotta love the idea that this device they use to send memories into the subconscious, it looks like it's just desperately added on, and that's basically what all of us do when we have something bad. Just shove it in the background. It's not organized. You just kind of just shove it in the back.
And it's also with the new stuff in the imagination land, especially with the parade of possibilities, the parade of like
future
grand
possible future careers.
Yeah, same thing. It's it's great what we're talking about, but I feel like this podcast so far is not as like great like passionate. It's more passionate about the ideas, but that's why in this podcast it feels a little jumbled up because this movie's a bit jumbled up. This movie's like it's a little clumsy. That's why I say it's a direct-to-DVD sequel because it's a bit clumsy. Even though it has great ideas, like I said, the possible career, and then the possible careers, and then the brainstorm, where literally all the ideas are deadly honked at these emotions, and this big one, which is full of anxiety, and that
so many just great ideas at play there. The brainstorm, like some of them are just really funny, like the sarcasm or the phases that Riley goes through about what she likes and what she doesn't like. Like, yeah, that's typical teenagehood.
I felt like the sadness of this film is that this feels like the stepping point from Pixar as we know it as the end of what we know it.
We know it. I mean,
and it becoming something more Disney's new brand of entertainment for families. They're probably going more illumination or more progressive or just really trying to sell to people. Like, I think that at least the importance in this film is at least trying to have sympathy for the devil here, trying to have sympathy for both Disney and Pixar combined, trying to have sympathy for that they, especially with anxiety about in the imagination land where there are all these like parts of the body like literally drawing like possibilities for Riley to have, and that is pretty much what the animators at Pixar and Disney all feel towards. And there's like this big cry against, like, they're all sick of it and they all want to go home. They all they all get like intensity, which can be good. I mean, in a way, the show sometimes structure in the brain isn't, some things aren't healthy for the brain, but it can easily, like this, even like this one part in the soul where the guy who was one of the stress guys was healed by the Gnostics, and that he was the hedge fund manager, and it was put back to his earthly body, and that he literally, like, he did scream, he's alive, free yourself, but it can easily lead into abandoning any structure entirely.
Aye. Certainly Soul could be interpreted on what's...
Which, at least, both Soul and Inside Out 2 know that is not good at all, because good, that's why the catharsis, and that's also I intuitively spot when they did get out of, like, the emotions did get out of the vault, and they did, where they had the idea of going back to Riley, But Joy wanted to go back to sense of self. I thought that was brilliant, actually. I thought that since the emotions were heading the right direction, they should go back to Riley. They should help her because the emotions are just good enough, and that's what the catharsis will be like. But Joy still cling on to that sense of self that is the most important. That will fix it. And by the all is lost scene, the all is lost scene, the all is lost, like kind of back from the other one. Again, less strong, but it is still provocative in that Joy is absolutely like she doesn't know what to do. She's at a loss, and she's like that maybe growing up, and there's that sense of dread in her eye that growing up is inevitably less joy. That you will to grow up is to have less joy. That sense of dread of loss, that loss of that childhood innocence, that or think that it's all not worth it in the end, that sense you can have. And I will say, at least the new it's nice to see that, at least, even though you could say that the first movie did well with the emotions, but mostly they're focused on joy and sadness when they left. But it's nice to see at least the other emotions got some screen time, or at least got some interaction with at least Joy, now taking care of them. And I don't think that sadness could probably be, she's more passive. Well, Joy is more active, so say that she's now dealing with not sadness anymore, but now joy. But at least sadness is dealing with the new emotion, say embarrassment. So at least there's that. But so it's nice to give some more development to the emotions such as anger, disgust, and fear. And basically, fear is probably in love with anxiety. That basically anxiety is him on steroids.
Pretty much. What else was there? I suppose that what you were mentioning there earlier about the belief system, these belief system strings form this sort of flower shape, which represents what Riley believes about herself, about life in general, about around her.
And that I'm a good person.
Yeah. So when anxiety appears, she looks at it and just thinks, this is not the right core to motivate Riley to get to the top leads of the Redhawks hockey team. So I find it interesting that when she tries to chuck the old emotions away, she begins to put in certain memories into the belief system pond, and it sort of shoots up. And it's interesting how when anxiety tries to take the role of joy, like Riley does, she appears to be happy. It's like she appears this and that way because emotions get more kind of nuanced as you get older because people are more prone to hiding stuff.
That's why, since Soul exists,
yeah,
we can now canonically say that everything in that movie is connected to this one, and the both Inside Outs. Yes, we can now canonically. We can even say that without them being in the same universe. We can say that Joe in that film had that same amount of emotions going on with all that. And even 22, a newborn one, had those same things.
Oh yeah.
But let's say hers was much less nuanced.
Yeah.
Say.
Yeah, and they clearly establish in the film that anxiety in moderation is all about planning for potential outcomes in the future, like something similar to like Batman's contingency plans or something like that. So anxiety, of course, has the best intentions to have the best possible outcome for Riley. So she keeps putting in these specific new.
And she, funny enough, looks like a Wallace
Gromit character.
I am more pointing out that maybe she looks a bit reptilian, giving more light to the reptilian brain part of the,
My reptilian brain wants more cheese, Gromit. So, as anxiety is Wallace and Gromit character is putting more memories into the pond of the stream of consciousness,
and even she has that nice lined shirt, like
she does. She absolutely does. Yeah, she would fit right in. So
you just have to mold her out of clay.
Yes, mold her out of clay. Aardman, get on it now.
No, he could do that. Anyone could do that, really. Anyone
maybe I should do that.
He's such a simplistic character. She's not even that. She's pretty easy to mold, really.
Yeah. Yeah, just think a mixture between Morph and Wallace. Yeah, there you go. That should be. I would have a day trip with that one. So she's trying to put in these memories into the stream of subconscious. She's trying her absolute best to have a new determined...
And I like also, especially with the stream of conscience, how it perceives food. Like it perceives, like say that the food doesn't. The food is a candy bar or a protein bar, but she perceives it in a different way, like cardboard and broccoli. She perceives it in an entirely different way than how it actually is.
Aye. Of course, he sends like that belief system core to the subconscious, and that motivates the old emotions to try to get it back, which is also where they dump the other bad memories. Interesting enough, we'll get back to that later. So anxiety tries to form this new core, and unlike the old belief core, which kind of did so in a nice orderly fashion, like you said earlier, this new core acquires like this more disordered, bolty kind of string.
And honestly, I could see this movie like that in a nutshell. Not disorderly, more like disorderly, and that's clumsy in the fact.
Yeah, you can tell anxiety's putting all around.
And honestly, I think that's kind of the whole. I think the whole staff behind this movie was in that way. Is in this way.
Self-expression.
Yep.
So it's interesting. Like you can see the look on her face. Like, yeah, this is.
I think that's kind of explains what I said about it. It's probably them holding themselves back in a way.
Possibly. So anxiety makes this new core, and then Riley begins to think, "I'm not enough." Especially when she finds out what her gym coach wrote earlier. It feeds the intense anxiety. I'm not enough. I gotta try harder. Gotta try harder, and that just keeps motivating anxiety more and more to the aforementioned panic attack scene. Of course, anxiety is still motivated. Like, okay, well, and because she's all about possible outcomes, she's like, okay, so she told us we're not ready yet, but we'll make her believe that we're ready. It's interesting, by the time that the old emotions get the belief system and try to get themselves back with the Blue's Clues character, basically flooding all the bad memories into the stream of consciousness, which is really fascinating. Typically in a movie like this, they would just, restore the MacGuffin item into the thing and everything's restored, but here it's not that straightforward. I mean, they actually kind of do, but then Joy thinks, wait a minute, rip it off. Let's just get all these bad memories to form what Riley herself is actually feeling right now. And it's a whole hodgepodge of, I'm great, I'm terrible, I'm bad, I'm disgusting. And the ultimate way to just get it to form is just all the emotions hug it, as if they were hugging Riley herself, and they just...
That's what, it was just such great catharsis right there.
Oh,
even
absolutely.
I did like... Inevitably, the literal catharsis. I think that's an emotion right there. Yeah. The literal, all that, pixie dust was catharsis. Was literally catharsis itself. Joy, going to getting that catharsis from those negative emotions and releasing of that relief.
Oh, yeah.
That is why it was so great right there. But then when Riley was in her mood in it, no one was... That's why the first Inside Out... That's why her parents, what helped her so much, they were understanding, oh, sweetie, we're not mad. You know what? I miss San Francisco, too. But when she... no, Minnesota, too. I miss too. I miss Minnesota, too. But when that was it, it was just her being smiley, happy, and then everyone's smiling for her. And nothing bad, nothing... You didn't feel that sense of that something bad could have happened, but because even though it should have, but yeah, you just don't get that. I mean, I think you don't see the coach who put her in the penalty box, since she's one of the sources of her stress. She's almost nearly gone. It's like she doesn't exist. She was erased from existence, snapped out, and that all she was just focusing on was her friend. I mean, it wasn't that. It was nice that... okay, I am remembering there was, at least with the friends, they were making up. They were making up, at least. But that was more them mad at her earlier, mad at them. That is where my problem comes in. That is, it could have looked worried or stressed that, hey, it was early that, but I mean, there is, but it doesn't feel that towards. I mean, if you really want to make it strong, they could have noticed her freaking out, and they could have been knocking on the door or opening it and trying to snap her out of it. That is where the gravity of the situation of it. They could have been helping her because she felt like she was gonna have a heart attack. But nope, it felt much more easier to solve. But
I mean, it was easier to solve, but still, I mean,
no, it could have been much harder. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That is why. Because she could have gone through so much anxiety that she couldn't. That she was nearly getting a heart attack. She could have breathed deep and down. She could have done like what Puss in Boots did in The Last Wish. She could have done that, and her friends could have been like Perito and trying to snap her out of it.
Well, in a way, that kind of did happen, and yes,
I did, but there was more gravity in that situation because there was more gravity. There was more gravity because, especially, I know that death is different from puberty, but it is the difference that you see her heart beating. You see that happening. You can have her have spasms. You can have her like go over the place, and they would be worried. That would even get the coach involved, everyone there, because they would nearly go call the police, call the ambulance. Right. That is where that could have been better.
Right.
So, if you gave so much more gravity to that situation.
Maybe a few more months of development could have possibly saved it, but
yeah, but it was all just okay. I need to get my friends back in my life. And then everything's okay. I mean, so that's where the catharsis kind of loses it.
Right. I mean, to be fair, she did have to reconnect with her friends, to be sure.
Yes, but it's not that. It's how minuscule it feels, especially to how I expressed it. How minuscule.
Right. People at Pixar, we're not saying that the scene is bad. Far from it. This was a really intense scene. It's just like it could have been
just
more.
The afterwards. It kind of blew it. You blew it.
Right. I was honestly kind of shocked to see Riley even have her hand go near her. I was sitting there in the cinema just thinking internally, oh my days, is she having a panic attack? She is. Oh, good grief. And
but you could have gone even better, like saying she was nearly on the floor. You could have gone that her face was nearly going to go on the floor dripping.
I think they were going intense enough as it was, like the sweating, the red skin, and especially her positioning herself and the heavy breathing and stuff like that.
That is exactly why it should have been more her scenario, her external world should be more responsive to it and not less responsive.
Right.
It should be more like everyone, even the girl with the red hair and the black hair, the coach, everyone. And willing to call her parents over it.
I suppose that they do have the potential to do that. I look at Inside Out 2 and I think, man, they are so amazing at creating these articulate emotions.
And yeah, it's a waste. It's like they're holding themselves back because it's almost out of spite. They don't want to be as good as they used to be because it's obvious that whole Disney Pixar shit. It's all that, corporate stuff.
It's still amazing that they.
I think in a way they're holding themselves back, and you can say that's why Pete Docter said all of that crap. He said he's getting out of that sellout stuff because it's all out of spite to Disney, and that they're holding themselves back because they are in a position that they don't want to be in. So I think that is pretty much when Joy was being delusional, and that the emotions were all like they were all saying you're delusional and all denial. That is just Doctor just speaking out his emotions, and that everyone else also is that. Yeah.
I suppose you have that one scene where Joy kind of lashes out.
I get it. You could say that all the new emotions are Disney, and that all the old ones are Pixar.
Yeah, that's another way of interpreting it. Yeah, that's another way of doing it.
Because how everyone else feels them, they're corporate Disney overlords. They are totalitarian. They are heartless. They are soulless. But how the Pixar view them, they view them as the new emotions. They view them as just a bunch of idiotic twats.
Yeah. I mean, it's often said Disney was a company founded by geniuses yet inherited by morons. Like, you could say that, maybe the new emotions do represent like Disney, especially with the little.
I think Bob Iger would represent anxiety. Yeah.
And I think Kathleen Kennedy could perfectly represent communism. I mean, envy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
It would be embarrassment in Yuma.
Alright.
Okay, Marvel could be probably Inua, or in Marvel songs could be Inua.
In Inouye. I think it's pronounced Inouye.
Or maybe Star Wars would be embarrassment. Star Wars would be embarrassment. Marvel would be
Inouye. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like George Lucas would just be that embarrassment, embarrassment emotion. That's how George Lucas feels at this point, embarrassed.
Yeah, Inouye would be the apathy that people are feeling towards
Marvel. And I think that Marvel would feel towards, like after Endgame was great, but afterwards we could do no wrong, so we're apathetic. And at this point, we don't know what we're doing, so we're apathetic.
Right. These introductions to these new emotions have got me thinking, all these different characters, like in anime and other movies, I wonder what their central emotions would be.
Oh, and there's even one with Aaron, like his central emotions would be anger and sadness. Yeah. But now it's anxiety. Now it'd be anxiety also, and all the other emotions we toiled up, and now it would be suppressed. And now since the Shadow, so Aaron Yeager, the Shadow would basically be in headquarters, and all that would be left is anxiety, anger, and sadness is all in Aaron's head.
By comparison, if it was someone like, say, Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, the central
I think if it's Deku from My Hero Academia, it would be embarrassment, joy and sadness, and fear.
Fear, yeah. If it was Spike Spiegel, you'd have Inouye front and center. You'd have nostalgia because he's constantly thinking about Julia. You'd have joy and anger for like the Daredevil stuff that he's constantly doing. Fear banished to the subconscious.
What about guts? I think it would be just dedicated straightly to the Shadow, and the only emotion he would have is sadness.
Oh, yeah, remember in the first Inside Out movie where the bus driver had every emotion as an anger-related emotion? That would pretty much be
every is anger, and then sometimes break up into sadness. They pattern to anger and then sadness. They transform back to anger and back to sadness. And the Shadow is just in control a bit. That Shadow, that secret in Riley's vault, that would be up in his headquarters, guiding him like it would Aaron.
Oh gosh, there's so many.
And I think also I was thinking of actually I think I was also of Zeke Yeager. I think he would be envy. He would have envy as embarrassment.
That would make sense.
And nostalgia and envy, embarrassment, nostalgia, and anxiety.
That makes a lot of sense. Wow.
And a little Inouye. And also Inouye.
Okay. So.
Yeah, sarcasm, because he is. Oh, I think he usually, when he's talked to anyone but Aaron, is Inouye. Everyone. But when he talks to Aaron, it's all envy. It's all envy and nostalgia.
Right, all these different combinations you could have with all these different people now that you've introduced these new emotions, including nostalgia, implying there's other emotions that have yet to appear.
Yeah, and also that Shadow, that little dark secret of the person that's gonna come out later when you're adult.
Oh, Brooks, did you watch the end credits scene for Inside Out 2?
Did I? Really? There was an end credit scene?
Oh yeah, there's an end credit scene about what the dark secret actually is.
Tell, I didn't see that. I only stayed with the little clips. What was it?
I was not gonna give it away, but okay, I was watching it with a friend. I was like, is there gonna be an after credit scene? Not likely. Then we thought, oh, there is an end credit scene, and at first I thought it was gonna be something serious, but it was actually another joke. So, basically, do you want me to spoil it for you?
Yeah, just do it.
Okay, so So Joy opens up the secret vault, gets that dark shadow with the darkest secret coming out. It's like, come on out. I don't wanna. Come on out. Just share it. Just say it out. What is it? I don't wanna share it. No. What's your deepest, darkest secret? My deepest, darkest secret is when I accidentally burned the rug. As a child.
It's a Walmart McFly situation, isn't it?
Yeah. Accidentally burned the rug as a child. Then Joy says, wait, what about... And then he just says... And then he just goes back into the vault. Set it off.
And that could actually maybe... You know, like from Soul and 22 was like, oh, the fire is pretty. I kind of want to let it spread. So maybe that could lead to sadistic thoughts. I don't know.
We've all done some embarrassing stuff as children.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still head on that dark secret is the shadow, is Young's concept of shadow. It has to be.
The darkest secret for Riley is she accidentally burned the rug.
Well, she is a kid. She is still a kid.
She's a kid. She's
I guess that would probably get worse in life later.
Yeah. This film is covering like the initial days of puberty, and all the emotions have to deal with it. Like her emotions are much more drastic than they were. There's new emotions coming in, and all these other.
I think should we end it on that?
I suppose I think there might be a bit more said. I think in regards to Inside Out 2. What more?
I want to say one thing about another fictional character emotions. Batman. His.
Oh man. Someone who's managed to conquer his fear. Oh gosh. Oh wow. There's a lot you could put in there.
But definitely sadness and anger will be still there.
Sadness and anger would maybe like take one hold of the controller each or something like that. Inoi to be fearless, and then
or do you know.
I guess
I think Inoi is boredom, isn't it? It's sarcasm.
Okay, so it wouldn't be Inoi.
And disinterest. I think it's overall disinterest.
Disinterest. Right. Oh gosh, there's so many ways you could interpret that. Oh gosh.
And also, of all the unwanted memories that come into play into the ego and come with those ego straps, those like that come into the conscience of the mind in that form, basically the ego.
Right. I mean, I'd be happy if these movies are used for like mental health classes. That alongside other films like say Inception or stuff like that.
Absolutely. I think Soul also should be used for mental health. Also,
yeah,
even if it's a bit more divine or philosophical than it is mental health.
Oh yeah, I mean, Soul
it still would help, right?
I mean, absolutely. It's all interconnected, really.
Yeah, I know. That's why I say those emotions are just souls, also. Or at least fragments of the soul, like splinters of the soul, like little parts of the soul.
Right.
And more than just emotions, but the act of the soul itself. The act like stands also. So we did that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So if all the emotions, all the characters would all just be their stands. Would all be formed their stands.
Are you sure about that? Yes.
But except they would all be in the color of the emotions themselves. So there would be a red star platinum, a blue star platinum, a yellow star platinum. There would be a green star platinum. There would be a whole slew of them.
Oh my days. Do we want to know the deepest, darkest secret of Dio Brando? No.
I kissed your great-great-grandfather's girlfriend. Your ancestor's girlfriend. So that I really born you. Really born you.
Oh, good grief.
In a way, he kind of did, because Giorno is a thing.
Yeah. Oh man. So I guess
in a way, I actually feel Joseph Southern are kind of like Inside Out too, a bit like how clumsy they both are.
Very true. I suppose speaking of clumsy, I guess to wrap up this video, I
think it should be a clumsy emotion, really. Emotion.
Yeah. I suppose there's one last thing I'm just thinking about the career of Pete Docter himself. Now, so far, the man is probably one of the best film directors in the animation
He did
field.
Monsters Inc. He did Up.
He did Inside Out
He
1 and
did
2, and he did Soul.
Oh.
Yeah. And all of them, even Inside Out 2, even if it's just to a lesser degree, all of them have been critically well received, and everybody loves Pete Docter's movies. There's a reason why.
And I think Inside Out is probably like the Oppenheimer right now for cinema. The cinema's mainly dragging through the rug, and Inside Out 2 is a desperate win for both cinema and Disney because they need some money. They're losing it.
They have to have Inside Out 2 to make up for the Arclight. Yes. So I suppose Pete Docter's still got a great record as a director going for him, and I hope he.
That is why it's so heartbreaking that he did that whole net interview that pinned him as a whole sellout hypocrite.
Aye. At the same time, I can see why he's the CEO of Pixar. To be blunt, he's earned it.
After John Lasseter, another sellout hypocrite.
Yeah. So. There's a lot of drama, a lot of hypocrisies going on at Disney Pixar, but even with all that said, you're right. This is definitely the summer blockbuster movie that Disney and Pixar needed. Although I've heard that,
and also there's Deadpool and Wolverine since they own it. They didn't distribute. They distributed, but they didn't make it. That's gonna make another big money too. That's gonna make money too.
That's bound to. So I could safely say like probably the best movies of 2024 so far, to my memory. Inside Out 2, Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2. And I'm sure there were some other ones. I'll have to take some time to think about that one. But obviously,
okay, I think we can end it right here.
Right. All right. Everybody, if there's any thoughts you want to have about Inside Out 2, given what we've been talking about, let us know in the comments down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you all. But in the meantime,
it's the best Pixar It's best Pixar DVD directed DVD sequel never made.
The best Pixar dream sequel stuff. Okay, I'll quote you on that. Thank you, everybody. Bye.